Hasn't there been enough for one day?
I won't be long. I'll meet you back at camp.
Don't go.
I just want to look, see who's hunting me.
He is a dashing, charismatic, and unquestionably masculine leading man. This larger-than-life Scottish sensation gave his unmistakable stamp to over 50 films. He even successfully escaped the profitable straitjacket of one of the most beloved film characters in Hollywood's history.
Who are you?
My name is Bond. James Bond.
He is the one and only Sean Connery. He was born Thomas Sean Connery on August 25, 1930, in Edinburgh, Scotland. At age 13, he dropped out of school to spend his free time in libraries and performing in plays. Sean started working for the BBC, including a production of Requiem for a Heavyweight. Connery's film work began with smaller roles in such films as Action of the Tiger and A Night to Remember.
Here again, from the land of love, laughter, and leprechauns.
The next year, Connery would get his chance at stardom in Darby O'Gill and the Little People. The film is a romp through the leprechaun world of Ireland.
What kind of man are you at all that doesn't believe in the little people?
Maybe you'd like to find out.
Indeed, I would.
Connery replaces Darby O'Gill, the aging caretaker of a large estate, and soon becomes enamored with the man's daughter. After befriending a leprechaun, O'Gill is granted 3 wishes. Albert Sharp, Janet Monroe, and Jimmy O'Day round out the cast.
She is my dear, my darling one, my smiling and beguiling one.
Connery himself croons a ditty in this lavish Disney musical. Filled with special effects, the film was a box office hit. Shortly after, Connery would be offered the role that would define his early career.
My name is Bond. James Bond.
Dr. No was the first time movie audiences were introduced to British Secret Service agent James Bond, 007. Bond was a classy ladies' man with a license to kill. Setting the stage for the movies to follow, 007 beats the megalomaniac bad guy and gets the beautiful girl. Ursula Andress played the first of Bond's famous female co-stars.
She clung to me like a wet bathing suit.
Only the second James Bond thriller could be more exciting than the first.
Connery reprised the role of James Bond in his next film, From Russia with Love. This time, 007 is pitted against supervillain Robert Shaw. It would also earmark the first time Bond had to deal with 2 women.
Well, I'll tell you something, Coultherney. You're one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen.
From Russia with Love was a box office dynamo and ensured the success of Bond films for years to come.
From Paris to London, Agent 007 cuts an inimitable path through the palaces and boudoirs of espionage.
You're trapped, Mr. Bond. You cannot escape.
Connery's next picture was his 3rd James Bond film in a row.
007. It spells Bond.
Goldfinger has 007 battling against a heavy-set, filthy-rich, power-hungry maniac. His evil plan is to detonate a nuclear device inside Fort Knox and destroy the country's gold.
His enemy, 007, the world's wiliest, toughest gentleman agent with a license to kill.
007, of course, has something to say about that.
It spells
Goldfinger spawned several Bond trends, including the imposing henchman, or second-in-command. Always a physical adversary, this guy gives Bond a run for his money. Q, Bond's gadget man, also made his first appearance. Honor Blackman portrayed Bond girl Pussy Galore for this installment.
My name is Pussy Galore.
Isn't it customary to grant the condemned man his last request?
You've asked for this.
Choose your next witticism carefully, Mr. Bond. It may be your last. Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
How do you do? I am Alfred Hitchcock, and I would like to tell you about my latest motion picture, Marnie.
In 1964, Connery would break away from James Bond to star in Alfred Hitchcock's Marnie. He played Mark Rutland, a wealthy socialite who falls for his newest employee.
Deeper than that.
Little does he know, Marnie has a secret.
And this is the problem which Mark must probe. Here is
Tippi Hedren took it up a notch in the title role, which Hitchcock had hoped would bring Grace Kelly out of retirement.
I'm just something you've caught. You think I'm some kind of animal you've trapped.
Ian Fleming's Thunderball.
In 1965, Connery would again play 007 in Thunderball.
What sharp little eyes you've got.
Wait till you get to my teeth.
Probably the weakest in the series, the film was not produced by Albert Broccoli and Harry Saltzman.
The things I do for England.
Ravishing redheads.
Connery himself felt it was a wasted effort. Despite this, the film went on to be the highest-grossing Bond picture to date.
Achtung! So, today it is madness. That's the subject on the the agenda. Madness, yeah.
In 1966, Connery starred in A Fine Madness. The film tells the story of a poet frustrated in his attempts to create a masterpiece.
The thunder of applause, all that jazz. No wonder this cookie cracked.
Gene Seberg and Joanne Woodward played the two women in his life.
You should have such a madness. A fine madness.
Connery returned as James Bond in 1967 to star in You Only Live Twice.
Welcome to Japan, Mr. Bond.
Donald Pleasance was the supervillain Blofeld, along with 3 different Bond girls this time. Connery became increasingly weary of the Bond formula, but audiences didn't seem to mind. You Only Live Twice became another box office sensation.
Sean Connery is Shalako. Shalako means action.
In 1968, Connery turned down the newest Bond film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, to star with Brigitte Bardot in the western Shalako.
I would like very much for you to make love to me. But it's impossible.
What if I just took what I wanted?
I would kill you.
Well, at least I'd die happy.
The film takes place in 19th century New Mexico when a group of aristocrats get into trouble in Apache territory.
Shalako.
Born on the wind to follow the sun.
It was a box office disappointment.
The crystal purity of winter, a landscape for lovers. But beyond the limits of their love, waits an adventure beyond the bounds of all other motion pictures.
His next role would be that of an explorer in the costly Russian-Italian co-production, The Red Tent.
They've been 3 weeks on the ice now. Have you any idea what that means? We're finished. Oh, finished.
Now, sweeping you across worlds known and unknown, across all the frontiers of adventure,
the film also proved to be a box office failure.
Is The Red Tent.
They're all over the coalfields, calling themselves the Molly Maguires, after some gang of cutthroats back in Ireland.
2 years later, Connery starred in the gritty historical drama, The Molly Maguires.
God will judge last night's violence as a sin.
I want the organization. I want it smashed.
Set in turn-of-the-century Pennsylvania, the film tells the story of a Pinkerton detective who infiltrates the secret organization. Connery and Richard Harris light up the screen opposite each other. Perhaps because of the thick dialects, though, the film was another box office disaster for Connery.
Paramount Pictures presents Richard Harris, Sean Connery, Samantha Egger in The Molly Maguires.
To find financial success, he would have to reprise the role that made him famous.
You've been waiting for him. Now he's here.
Who are you?
My name is Bond. James Bond.
Diamonds Are Forever was the 6th Bond movie Connery made. In this adventure, 007 pursues a diamond smuggler in exotic locales. Jill St. John was lovely as Bond's girl in this outing.
Well, that's quite a nice little nothing you're almost wearing. I approve.
I don't dress for the hired help.
But Connery became bored with the role and vowed to never play James Bond again.
Someone is listening. Someone is watching.
For his next film, Connery would team up with legendary director Sidney Lumet. The Anderson tape stars Connery as a tough ex-convict looking for a big score. He finds it in a plush New York apartment building. Little does he know, he is being recorded every step of the way.
What sort of people live here?
Oh, we have a variety. There's a fag decorator upstairs and a doctor downstairs, although they say he's an abortionist. They're all loaded.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna back up a moving van and I'm gonna steal the guts out of the whole place.
Everyone knows it's an improbable crime. Yet Duke Anderson may pull off the impossible. The bestseller that bugged the world of crime unreels its power on the screen.
The Anderson tapes was a box office hit. Two years later, Connery and Lumet teamed up again for Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. The ensemble cast included Albert Finney, Lauren Bacall, Ingrid Bergman, and Richard Widmark. Set on the luxurious title train, this stylish thriller captivated critics and audiences alike. That same year, Connery also starred in John Boorman's sci-fi cult classic, Zardoz. Set in 2293, Connery plays a rogue exterminator who questions his faith. With its Wizard of Oz overtones, the film didn't strike a nerve, but later found new life on video as a cult hit.
Rated R.
Kafirstan, the remotest place on Earth, where only Alexander the Great has been before you.
In 1975, Connery got a chance to work with legendary director John Huston in The Man Who Would Be King. This epic film tells the story of two British Army officers in colonial India.
The Man Who Would Be King.
And now, sir, let me introduce you to Brother Peachy Carnahan, which is him, and Brother Daniel Dravert, which is I.
Michael Caine and Connery sizzle opposite each other as their debaucherous abuse of the people and the land soon comes back to haunt them.
Every time, we gotta make a run for it.
Sean Connery, Michael Caine, and Christopher Plummer in John Huston's The Man Who Would Be King.
That same year, Connery made another adventure film. The Wind and the Lion reunited Sean with John Huston, only this time the director was his co-star. The film tells the story of an Arab chieftain who seizes an American woman and her children.
President Roosevelt will have your head for this.
This President Roosevelt, he would try and take it himself?
And so the battle lines are drawn. On the one side, Teddy Roosevelt, who the Razuli says is like the wind.
Columbia Pictures presents Sean Connery and Audrey Hepburn in Robin and Marion.
Go fight the sheriffs and the kings. I love you and you make me proud.
The next year, Connery accepted the lead role in Richard Lester's Robin and Marion. Opposite Audrey Hepburn, he gave dignity to an older, more mature Robin Hood.
You're so beautiful.
Come and sit by me.
I've never kissed a member of the clergy. Would it be a sin?
Hepburn's only complaint about love scenes with Sean Connery, there wasn't enough.
For Robin and Marion, love is the greatest adventure of all.
I love you more than God.
The sooner we go, the better. They've got them on the run.
In 1977, Connery joined an international all-star cast in A Bridge Too Far. It's the true story of a military blunder that cost many lives, and in the end meant little to the war effort. 35,000 Allied troops were to drop into enemy territory and knock out 6 bridges. Sir Richard Attenborough directs an army of cast and crew in one of the most ambitious films ever made.
A Bridge Too Far, starring Dirk Bogarde, James Caan, Michael Caine, Sean Connery.
Why did you conceive, plan, and execute this dastardly and scandalous crime?
I wanted the money.
Next for Connery was The Great Train Robbery.
It takes a bold man with a brilliant plan.
Based on his own book, Michael Crichton directed this true story of the first moving train holdup. Connery was the British thief who enlists a gang of hoods to help take the train. Donald Sutherland turned in a memorable performance as the master safecracker.
I told him that I wanted the best counter-terrorist I could find.
Would you inform General Bellow that Major Dapes has arrived?
For his next film, Connery would re-team with director Richard Lester for Cuba. Set in 1959, this satire centered around a British mercenary sent to the island to train Batista's men against revolutionaries.
Your friend,
I have very few friends.
do they toss bombs around, shoot off guns?
No, you do that.
Cuba in the 50s. Exotic. Sensual. Glamorous. Dangerous.
Brooke Adams played the love interest. Denholm Elliott and Martin Balsam rounded out the cast. The film hardly got a chance to move before it was pulled from theaters.
Cuba.
Your government developed a project to deal with this emergency.
In 1979, Connery joined another ensemble cast for the sci-fi thriller Meteor. The cast included Henry Fonda, Natalie Wood, Martin Landau, and Carl Malden. When a large meteor threatens to hit the Earth, U.S. and Russian scientists team up to save the world. But it landed in theaters as a dud.
Meteor. Rated PG.
Some people just can't take it here after a while.
In 1981, Connery made two more sci-fi pictures. The first, Outland, was a space version of High Noon.
It'll get better, I promise. I could use a little help. You're supposed to protect us.
Connery plays a marshal in a mining colony on Jupiter's third moon.
I love you.
Marshal, you're dead.
He defends his home from a local drug ring.
Prepare yourself for a different kind of movie.
For his next role, Connery again took a small role in a big film. Time Bandits tells the story of 6 mischievous dwarfs holding a map that reveals gaps in the universe. Written and directed by Monty Python's Terry Gilliam and Michael Palin, the film blends comedy and adventure into a blissful puree. Connery was King Agamemnon in a memorable appearance.
Time Bandits.
Awful people.
Good to see you, Mr. Bond. Things have been awfully dull around here. I hope we're going to have some gratuitous sex and violence.
I certainly hope so, too.
1983 brought Sean Connery back to the role everyone was waiting for. 007 returned in Never Say Never Again, and Bond was better than ever.
Heavy, Mr. Bond?
The film begins with Bond as a school teacher who comes out of retirement to foil the sinister Klaus Maria Brandauer. Max von Sydow and Kim Basinger play the henchman and Bond girl, respectively. Never Say Never Again was basically a remake of the previous Bond film, Thunderball.
You know, there is a more beneficial therapy for a man's lower back.
Oh, really? What might that be?
Audiences didn't seem to mind. They flocked to theaters and made the film a box office sensation.
He was born centuries ago. A man specially chosen. But now, he is here.
3 years later, Connery would star in the fantasy action film Highlander. Set in 17th century England as well as modern-day New York, The film told the story of immortals battling through the ages. They must fight until only one remains.
Because you were born different, men will fear you, try to drive you away.
Christopher Lambert plays the Highlander, with Connery as his teacher. The film was a box office success and spawned 2 sequels.
Highlander. A man of reason in a world of blind faith.
Yes, small blood here.
You mean that he committed suicide?
Elementary.
Later that year, Connery starred in the off-center adaptation of Umberto Eco's novel, The Name of the Rose.
He did not write with his tongue, I presume.
As an English monk in the 14th century, Connery struggles to uncover the truth surrounding a string of violent murders.
I am most curious to see the library for myself. May I do so? No. But what if you should learn it of his own accord? Written with lemon juice.
Ron Perlman and a young Christian Slater head up the impressive cast.
This one, I grant you, did not commit suicide.
The Name of the Rose. A story of unholy murder.
Sean Connery is Jimmy Malone.
You want to get Capone? Here's how you get him. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way.
In 1987, Connery took a supporting role in Brian De Palma's The Untouchables.
Everybody knows where the booze is. The problem isn't finding it. Let's do some good! The problem is who wants to cross the pond.
Set in the 1930s, this gangland tale pitted Elliot Ness against Al Capone. The prize, Chicago. Both Kevin Costner and Robert De Niro were dynamic in the lead roles. But it was Sean Connery as Elliot Ness's mentor who stole the show. His performance earned him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor.
The Untouchables.
This is my command here. You watch your mouth and your hair.
In 1988, Connery starred as an Army commander in the San Francisco set thriller The Presidio. Mark Harmon plays a detective investigating a murder on Sean's base.
Do you think that Lawrence is the only one involved in all this?
Tempers fly when Connery sees his daughter, Meg Ryan, becoming enamored with the investigator.
Bad news, I love her.
So do I.
The film opened to lukewarm reviews and box office apathy. In the early 90s, Connery would go on to star in such films as Just Cause, Medicine Man, and The Rock. He would also star as Henry Jones Sr. in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. In 1999, Connery appeared opposite new sensation Catherine Zeta-Jones in Entrapment. From his start as a super spy every woman loved and every man wanted to be, to the rugged Chicago cop who gave a damn, he gave a part of himself to every role he played. Hollywood will always remember Sean Connery.